Good morning, everyone. My name is Adam Głuszuk. I'm happy to see you all here at our webinar. Thank you for joining the webinar. Today's topic of our today's webinar is legal and financial issues of Horizon 2020. This webinar will be conducted by our Polish national experts of legal and financial issues, Barbara Tramer and Bartosz Majewski. This webinar is organized within the Black Sea Horizon project, and this webinar is one of the series of webinars concerning Horizon 2020. This webinar is recorded. So you need to know that if you don't agree, if you don't want to be a part of this webinar, if it is recorded, you are of course free to leave. But it is recorded to later on be uploaded at YouTube and Black Sea Horizon Project's website. So you will be able to come back to all the slides and hear the presentation again from the recording. I will start today's presentation with some information about the Black Sea Horizon project, and later on Bartosz and later Barbara will give you more details about legal and financial issues. So the Black Sea Horizon project is funded under Horizon 2020. It began in February 2015, and it will finish in January 2018. There are 19 organizations from 16 countries among the project partners in the consortium, and the coordinator is Center for Social Innovation from Austria. At this slide, you can see all the project partners, the names, their acronyms, and countries they represent. Here you can see some important contacts and websites. First of all, the first link is Black Sea Horizon website, our official email, and our special places in Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. If you will be interested in any information about the project, please visit the websites and like us on Facebook. The key objectives of the project are to support the EU's external relations with the target region, meaning the Black Sea region, to stimulate bi-regional STI cooperation, to contribute to the establishment of supportive framework conditions, and specific objectives are to support the EU's external relations with the region concerning the Black Sea Cooperation program in STI and bi-regional STI conference. Second is to increase the knowledge base about EU's external environment. And third, stimulate bi-regional STI cooperation. Next, strengthen the EU's economic competitiveness, contribute to the pooling of resources, contribute to the establishment of supportive framework conditions, and identify challenging thematic areas for mutual STI cooperation. This is the short information about the project. Thank you for your attention. And now I give the floor to our expert, Bartosz Majewski.
Hello, I would like to welcome everybody. My name is Bartosz Majewski, and I'm a legal and financial NCP in Poland. Together with Ms. Barbara Tramer, who is also a legal and financial NCP, we would like to tell you about legal and financial issues of Horizon 2020 program. In the first part, I'll tell you about rules for participation. We'll answer on question who can participate in the Horizon 2020 project and what are the basis of participation in Horizon 2020. Second part, which is going to be presented by Barbara Trammer, will be about financial aspects of Horizon 2020. You will get information about cost eligibility criteria, budget categories, funding schemes and limits, reports and audits, and payment modalities. The third part is going to be presented also by me. We'll focus on participant portal and all its functionalities, roles and access rights in the participant portal. I'll tell you also about the financial validation and about open access in Horizon 2020. Who can participate in Horizon 2020 program? Horizon 2020 is open to the world. It divides countries into 3 groups: member states, associated countries, and all other countries, third countries. All entities from all these groups can be Horizon 2020 beneficiary. The real question is if these entities are entitled to be funded under Horizon 2020 program. All entities from member states or associated countries are automatically eligible for funding, and also countries identified in work program are eligible for funding. This is the group of so-called non-industrialized countries. Industrialized countries like US, Canada, Australia, Japan, or Brazil, Russia, India, China, and Mexico can be funded only if one of 3 options apply. First one is when call for proposal clearly states that the applicants based in such countries are eligible for funding. Second options is that the participation is deemed essential for carrying out the project because of outstanding competence of such an entity or access to research infrastructure, access to data or something like that. And the third option is when such funding is provided under a bilateral scientific and technological agreement or any other agreement. We have this situation in the health program. General rule is that we should apply for funding as a consortium. The consortium must be made from 3 legal entities, each established in a different member state or associated country. They also must be independent of each other. Sometimes it's possible for a single entity to apply for funding. Single entity is entitled to participate in Horizon 2020 program in coordination and support actions, training and mobility actions, ERC grants, and SME instrument. The most important contract that you will have to sign is a grant agreement. It's a contract between the European Commission and the whole consortium. First, ECE will sign the contract with the coordinator, and after that, all of the other partners have 30 days to sign the contract. In Horizon 2020, there is only electronic signature of a grant agreement. I will tell the details of electronic submission system in the second part of my presentation. Today, We'll focus on General Model Grant Agreement, which covers the larger part of Horizon 2020 program. General Model Grant Agreement covers research and innovation action, and coordination and support actions. There are specific model grant agreements for other instruments such as the European Research Council, Maria Skłodowska-Curie Actions, SME Instrument, ERANET, PCP, PPI, European Joint Program Co-Fund, and Framework Partnerships. These specific model grant agreements differ from a general model grant agreement, usually in a couple of articles. But the general rules apply for all actions under Horizon 2020 program. If you want to check what are the differences between a general model grant agreement and specific grant agreement, we advise you to look at the annotated model grant agreement. AGA is a document which has around 700 pages. It's updated twice a year. We believe that soon we'll have the new version of AGA. It's user-friendly, well-written document, and you'll find 99% of answers if you have any question regarding legal and financial questions. Each article of General Model Grant Agreement has own annotation. After the General Model Grant Agreement, you will find annotation for specific Model Grant Agreements, and it's easy to see what are the main differences between general and specific grant agreements. Second type of contract is consortium agreement. It's a contract between the beneficiaries. EC is not the site of the contract. This contract regulates relations only between the partners. The general rule is that you must sign consortium agreement before the project starts. Usually, beneficiaries negotiate consortium agreement during grant preparation phase, which is the time between official results of the call and signature and the signature of the grant agreement. The most important thing is that CA must not contain any provision contrary to the grant agreement. It should regulate the internal organization of the consortium, distribution of EU funding, how we should deal with IPR issues, how we should deal with settlement of internal disputes, confidentiality, and receipts, for example. There is no official consortium agreement template made by European Commission. It's up to the consortium to regulate these issues. There are many templates of consortium agreement in the internet, but the most common version of consortium agreement is DESCA model. This model is made by universities and research organizations all around Europe. Around 85% of consortiums use this model as a basis of their CA. Here you can find the link which links you to the DESCA page. Okay, now I will give the floor to Ms. Barbara Tramer, and she will tell you about financial aspects of Horizon 2020.
The purpose of this part of the webinar is to provide you with the information which is necessary to build a budget in the proposal phase, to manage the project, and also to report costs. So on all the stages of project implementation, this information is needed. So, firstly, I would like to tell a few words about the cost eligibility criteria. This criteria, they refer directly to the stage of project realization and reporting. But you should know this criteria also at the stage of preparing the budget for your proposal, because you must know which costs are eligible in Horizon projects. So the cost must be actually incurred by the beneficiary. It can be costs planned or foreseen. Must be incurred during project realization, indicated in the estimated budget. It's annexed to grant agreement, connected to the action and necessary for action implementation. They must be recorded, identifiable and verifiable with the beneficiary's accounts, calculated according to accounting rules and the beneficiary's usual cost accounting practices. It's important condition, and it may happen happen very often, in fact, that during project realization, different beneficiaries, they calculate their costs in a different ways, because they have different rules or different practices in their organization. The cost should be incurred in compliance with national laws on taxes, labor and social security, must be reasonable, justified in accordance with sound financial management. It means non-excessive, in line with good housekeeping practice. It's good to remember just that costs related to preparing, submitting and negotiating the proposal are not eligible costs. You can see on the slide some examples of not eligible costs. Of course, excessive or reckless expenditures are not eligible. Deductible VIT is not eligible. Deductible VIT means VIT that is possible to be recovered under the national VIT system. Conversely, if VIT is not deductible, it's an eligible cost. So also provisions for future losses or debts are not eligible. Currency exchange losses not eligible. Debt and debt service charges. There are a list of non-eligible costs, and these are only examples. Total project cost consists of two kinds of costs: direct costs and indirect costs. Direct costs, these are costs which may be directly attributed to the project, and indirect costs are costs which must be incurred for project implementation, but it's not easy to attribute it to the project sometimes. These indirect costs, these are costs for renting, depreciation of buildings, water, gas, electricity, maintenance, supplies and petty office equipment, cost of administration, and similar costs. Indirect costs are calculated as 25%. It's from direct cost without subcontracting. It's a flat rate. So it's good to remember that accounting documentation is necessary only for direct cost. You have to have the documentation proving that cost has been incurred. Indirect costs do not need supporting evidence because they are declared using a flat rate. It's good to remember about that in case of audit. Direct costs consist of three budget categories: personnel costs, subcontracting, and other costs. Other costs, these are costs of travel and subsistence, equipment, purchase of goods and services. So now I will tell a few words about this, all of these cost categories, starting from personnel cost. Personnel cost for employees or equivalent. This means persons working for the beneficiary on the basis of an employment contract or equivalent appointing act. This equivalent appointing act is the case of civil servants in some countries. I think that some of you know that there were some changes made lately by the Commission in reference to remuneration in Horizon, and the main change is the definition of basic remuneration. Now it's the payment for the employee's normal work and participation in projects up to what is the beneficiary's usual remuneration practice for national project. This change means that beneficiaries whose normal practice was to pay additional money in reference with national project will be able to do the same for Horizon 2020. But there are a lot of detailed information regarding that, and I would suggest to read this information. It's described in details in AGA on pages 59 to 64. Personnel costs cover the payment, salary or bonus, plus social security contributions, plus taxes included in the remuneration. Personnel costs should be paid in accordance with national law and the employment contract or equivalent appointing act, must exclude arbitrary bonuses. This means bonuses which are not part of the beneficiary usual remuneration practice and or which are not based on objective condition. This condition that arbitrary bonuses are not eligible is really crucial, and you must remember about that. That only bonuses which are regulated and based on objective condition may be the personnel cost accepted as personnel cost in Horizon 2020 projects. Timesheets are generally necessary for personnel cost in Horizon 2020 project, but for persons working exclusively for the project, no timesheet is required. Additional remuneration are up to 8,000 euros per year per full time. This is option which is in use from the beginning of Horizon 2020, but we must say that it's very, very rarely used because of the condition which you may see on the slide. It's difficult for many organization beneficiaries to use this additional remuneration option. But as I said before, the new possibility, the new option was implemented by the Commission lately. This option referring to the increasing of basic remuneration. So the next budget category, subcontracting. Subcontracting is situation when some kind of service is ordered to be done outside the consortium. It's based on business conditions. Subcontractor charges a price, which usually includes profit. It is the main difference between subcontracting and other costs, which are claimed in Horizon 2020. Subcontractor works without the direct supervision of the beneficiary and is not hierarchically subordinated to the beneficiary. The beneficiary must base their subcontracts on the best value for money, considering the quality of service proposed. Subcontracting concerns implementation of project tasks described in Annex 1. Only limited part of the action may be subcontracted. Subcontracting must be indicated in Annex 1. Cost must be set out in Annex 2. Examples of subcontracting: testing and analyzing the resistance of a new component under high temperatures, if described in Annex 1 as project task. Building of prototype or pilot plan, if described in Annex 1 as project task. So subcontracting is some kind of service which is described as subcontracting in the proposal in Annex 1. It's good to know that subcontracting between beneficiaries is not allowed in the same grant agreement. All beneficiaries contribute to the action if one beneficiary needs the service of another in order to perform its part of the work. Is the second beneficiary who should declare the cost for that work. So all beneficiaries should declare their costs, and because of that, subcontracting between beneficiaries is not the case. Other direct costs consist of three subcategories: travel and subsistence, equipment, and purchase of goods and services. Travel and subsistence, it's relatively easy, I think, for organization to claim these costs, because they should be reported, claimed following normal practices and rules of the organization. So it's quite normal that different partners in one consortium will do that in different ways. Talking about equipment, it's important to remember that only depreciation of equipment can be charged, not the purchase price. And the third subcategory, purchase of goods and services. You can see on this slide some examples of purchase of goods and services: audit certificate on the financial statements, translation of documents, conference fee, publication of brochures. All of that are the other goods and services. I would like to show you what is the difference between subcontracts and contracts to purchase services, because it's sometimes difficult to distinguish between these two categories. Subcontracts concerns the implementation of action tasks as described in Annex 1. It's important that subcontracts is described in Annex 1 and concerns the implementation of action tasks. Contracts for services do not concern action tasks, but they are necessary to implement action tasks by beneficiaries. Some subcontracts must be indicated in Annex 1 if there is a special place to indicate that. And contracts for services do not have to be indicated in Annex 1. Subcontracts should be declared as subcontract in our budget table, and contracts for services will be declared as other direct costs in budget table. And of course, we don't calculate indirect costs from subcontracts, and 25% of indirect cost is calculated on contracts for services. On this slide, you may see the main funding schemes, main kinds of projects which are realized in Horizon 2020. Funding limits for these kinds of projects. Research and innovation actions are financing 100%. Innovation actions are funded in 100% for non-profit organization, but in 70% for profit organization. So in one innovation action, we may have different levels of funding, 100% or 70% for different beneficiaries. Coordination and support action are funded in 100%, and there is special kind of financing for SME instrument. It's phase 1, it's lump sum financing 50,000 euros, and phase 2 is financing 70%. The implementation of a project is divided into the reporting period, and after each reporting period, the consortium must submit a periodic report to the Commission. And this periodic report and final report, of course, after the final reporting, last reporting period, the reports must be submitted within 60 days following the end of the period, reporting period. It's good to remember that the budget in Annex 2 is an estimation, and the reported cost may differ from budgeted costs. During the implementation phase, budget may be transferred among beneficiaries and budget categories without the need of a notification to the Commission or agency, or an amendment if the action is implemented as described in Annex 1. So, if the consortium implement the action as described in Annex 1 and need to transfer some money from one budget category to another, there is no problem with that. No formal amendment is needed. Conversely, if we want to transfer money and there is a change of action described in Annex 1, the consortium will ask to start the formal amendment process with the European Commission. Certificate on the financial statement. It's a kind of audit. It's confirmation by the auditor that the costs incurred and recorded in the accounts of the beneficiary are following the rules of Horizon 2020, the national rules and practices of the beneficiary. This certificate on the financial statement is obligatory if a beneficiary requests a total contribution of 325,000 euro or more as reimbursement of actual costs. And unit cost calculated on the basis of its usual cost accounting practices, but it's a very rare situation that beneficiaries use this unit cost calculated on the basis of its usual cost accounting practices. During the implementation of the project and up to 2 years after the payment of the balance, the audit from the conducted by the Commission or again agency staff or sometimes external persons or bodies appointed by the Commission to do so may happen. This audit from the Commission or external bodies is to check on proper implementation of the action and compliance with the obligation under the grant agreement. This audit body, commission or agency, or who is this audit conducting, sends information letter to the beneficiary, informing that the audit is going to be performed. Payment modalities. The money are transferred from the European Commission to the coordinator, and the coordinator's task is to distribute this money between partners of the consortium, following the rules of grant agreement and consortium agreement. The way in which the money are transferred to the Commission, you may see on this slide. There is one pre-financing up to 30 days after the starting day or entry into force of the grant agreement. After that, there are interim payments, which should be paid by the Commission up to 90 days from reception of periodic report, and payment of the balance also up to 90 days from reception of final reports. Thank you for your attention, and thank you for your attention, and Bartosz Majewski will continue with the participant portal.
Thank you very much, Barbara. All the questions that you are asking in the chat will be answered after the presentations. So, first of all, if you want to check all the features of Participant Portal, you should log into your ECAS account. Everybody can have ECAS account. It is important because some features are accessible only after logging into the portal. On the slide, you can see where you should click to log in. The most important place, if you have any problems related to Participant Portal, is How-To button. When you click on it, you will find Participant Portal IT Manual. You will find there a lot of information on how to deal with registering of an organization, how to make an amendment, how to grant access rights, and all other issues related to participant portal. There is a lot of screenshots, movies to guide you through participant portal functionalities. Another useful area of participant portal is H2020 online manual. Online manual is the place where you'll find a lot of useful information about how to register an organization, how to nominate the leader, and how to submit a proposal. You will find there also information about countries that are eligible for funding in Horizon 2020 programs. The new tool presented by EC is FIQ, Frequently Asked Questions, which is available when you click on Support button. There is a search tool, and you can enter a keyword to check if there is a suitable answer on your question. Now, there is more than 700 questions and answers, but it is a new tool and it's going to be larger amount. Another place that you should visit is Funding Opportunities page. Here you can find all calls published by EC, not only planned and open for submission, but also closed calls. When you want to find suitable call, you can use the filter and find the proper call. When you click on the call, you'll be directed to call page. Here you can find all information related to specific call. You can check all documents related to the call to get necessary information about the rules and topic conditions documents. As you know, Participant Portal developed a tool to manage the grants. In Horizon 2020, we have electronic signature system, which means that we have to sign grant agreement, financial statements, and amendments to grant agreement only electronically. How to do that? First step is to appoint the leader. Legal entity appointed representative is a person who is responsible for appointing of an organization's roles, keeping an organization's data up to date, and leader can also view a list of all projects carried out by an organization. How to appoint a leader? You must send by regular mail all documents listed on the slide. The SE will validate the mandate and send the PIN code also by regular mail to the leader. After the leader submits this PIN code, he will be entitled to assign the roles. On this slide, you can see all the roles which can be assigned. Leader can assign L-sign, F-sign, persons who are engaged to sign grant agreements and reports, financial reports. You can also role of account administrator, which is the person who has the same privileges as the leader. He is the leader assistant. We have also project roles. Project roles can be assigned by participant contacts, PACOs, or coordinator contacts, COCOs. PACOs and COCOs are the persons who are identified in the proposal. The primary coordinator contact of a project is a unique role set by Commission. All primary coordinator contacts have full read and write access to their own and the consortium's common e-forms and can submit the Commission to the Commission via a participant portal. More coordinator contacts can be nominated by primary coordinator contact. Participant contacts can be nominated either by primary coordinator contact or by participant contacts. All participant contacts can submit e-forms to the coordinator contacts via participant portal. They have read and write access to their own forms and read-only rights to certain common forms. Task managers can read, modify, and save their own entities' forms. Team members have only read access. F-sign is the person authorized to sign Form C for the organization. The F-sign has to be nominated by the leader or an account administrator. You can have as many F-sign as you want. Then it's up to primary coordinator contacts or participant contacts to assign F-signs to specific projects. And you can have also unlimited number of project financial signatories. A-sign is the person authorized to sign documents legally binding for their organizations. They are nominated by the leader or account administrator. The coordinator contact or participant contacts can assign L-signs to specific projects, and you can also have unlimited number of field signs to be assigned to the project. Another tool that I wanted to show you is My Project tab. Here you can manage your project when you click on Manage Project page. This is how it looks like. You can interact with project officer on that page. You can submit the amendments. Here you will find also the reporting tools. When we click on continuous reporting, you will be able to see how it works like. For example, here you can see deliverables page. You can see who is responsible for each deliverable, when it should be delivered, and when it was delivered, and if it is accepted by EC. Here you can see the page when you want to communicate with the Commission. You can request an amendment, you can give formal notification, or just you want to communicate with project officer. Another issue I want to address is financial validation. It is only tagged for coordinator of the projects when the requested input from EU is above the level of 500,000 euro. It is valid for 18 months, and it is not performed in case of public bodies, international organizations, and single applicants. You can check your financial capability by yourself. It's possible when you checked on financial viability self-check. When you do it, the results are only for yourself, and you don't have to be logged in to start this tool. This picture is showing the World Wide Web. The reason I put it here is that because of the growing importance of the Internet, the new possibilities have opened for the scientific world. By open access, we mean it is free availability on the public Internet of peer-reviewed research publications, permitting any users to read, download, copy, print, search, or link to the full text of these articles without any legal, financial, or technical barriers. In Horizon 2020, We have open access limited to scientific publications. We have two routes: green, which is self-archiving in online repository, and gold, which is publishing in open access journals. Commission supports both gold and the green model. Open access costs are eligible for reimbursement. The publication should be made available in repository immediately in any of the two open access models. Beneficiary must take all measures in order to provide open access data that is necessary for verification of the statements made in the publication. The requirement to ensure open access, there is also a requirement to ensure open access to metadata. And the Commission has set up two following embargo periods for green model: 6 months in general and 12 months in case of social sciences and humanities. I put this slide to help you to remember that you can't publish anything if you want to exploit commercially or get a patent. If you want to find help about legal and financial rules, you can always contact legal and financial NCPs in your own country. You can also write to Commission through Research Inquiry Service. Here you can find the link, and you will get the answer directly from the Commission services. There is also a web page financed by European Commission about IPR. It's called IPR Help Desk, and you can also find the link here on that slide. Here you have the helpful info with the links that we were talking about during the presentation. And here's the contact to us if you have any further questions. Now I'll give the floor to Ms. Barbara Trammer to give the answer on VAT.
Thank you. Thank you for your question. Question is in reference to the lack of possibility to identify VAT. Indeed, it may happen during travel that we get invoice without VAT indicated on the invoice, and we are not able to identify VAT charged by the supplier. It may happen, for example, in case of small non-EU invoices. In this situation, the full price can be reported to the European Commission, and the full price is eligible, including VAT. I would suggest you to check on that in the annotated model grant agreement. It's part within ineligible cost with more detailed information about that. Thank you.
I thank you also for your attention. Do you have any other questions? If you do have any questions, please write them in the chat window in your left lower corner. Okay, we have one more question.
We have a question about the F-sign role. Anybody can be F-sign. Usually it is accountant, general accountant, but there is no rule set up by the Commission, so anybody can be F-sign. It's up to the beneficiary.
If you have any questions, you can of course ask them here in the chat window, or you can email our experts Barbara and Bartosz at any time later on. You can see their email addresses at the slide at the moment. Okay, if there are no more questions, thank you very much for participating in this webinar. Thank you, Barbara and Bartosz, our experts. Thank you all the participants for joining this webinar. This meeting is recorded. So the recording will be available at our project website. You can see it at the moment on the slide, blackseahorizon.eu. This is the project's website. The recording will be available next week. We will upload it to the YouTube and provide the link at the project website. So from the next week, you will be able to see the recording, to come back to all the information. You will have all the slides at the recording, so you will have all the information, also the email addresses to our experts. Please also visit our website to check our plan for the next webinars. We will organize a couple of more webinars until the end of this year. So you are welcome to join and see and hear the webinars and our next experts. Thank you very much for now, and see you next time. Bye bye.